Take a look at the markets right now. We've got the Dow up almost 8 points, 12,445. Stocks really struggling today as economic fears trump good earnings and buyout offers. And with 18 days until possible default and still no deal to raise the debt ceiling, leaders continuing to trade charges and counter charges.
If they show me a serious plan, I'm ready to move, even if it requires some tough decisions on my part.
I don't want to preclude any chance of coming to an agreement. But they've been unwilling to put a real plan on the table.
Plus, putting on the Ritz, how luxury hotel chain Ritz-Carlton is flourishing in this bad economy. I go one-on-one with the CEO. Hi, everyone. I'm Cheryl Casoni, and joining me for the hour today, Fox contributor John Layfield and Jim Frischling, co-founder and president at NewOak Capital. And moments ago, Senator, he says that this is what the president said this morning. He said that it wasn't me. He says every president has done nothing but to, raise the debt ceiling. That's what got us into this mess. He was kind of blaming his predecessors, and maybe there's a fair argument there. But he says that the debt ceiling argument now, this August 2nd deadline, is Washington manufactured. Is that the case, do you think?
Well, it's been so typical of this president in so many things that he waits until we are at the 11th and a half hour and comes in and expects Congress to bail him out. And that's what we're facing. We are literally facing a situation where nobody wants the result of not raising the debt ceiling. But my goodness, he has to come to grips with the fact that he's spending this country into the Stone Age. I mean, look at the budgets, look at the TARP program, look at the stimulus program, look at the health care bill. It's just been one big spending initiative after another, and that does result in multi-trillion-dollar deficits.
Senator, a question. Markets don't like the uncertainty. Other groups are piling on. S&P putting out, downgrade watch and concerns about the obviously inevitable default if we don't meet this August 2nd deadline. What do you think the chances are of not meeting the deadline? Because respectfully, I think it's zero. What do you think the chance of not getting this deal done is?
First question to the president was very telling. Tell us one thing you would do on entitlements. And of course, he dodged the question very, very artfully. Mr. President, tell us your plan to cut the budget. We are ready to go. We are ready to make the hard decisions. We are ready to deal with entitlements, and we can eliminate all of this uncertainty. But here's a point that is getting lost in this debate. We hear that if we don't do something by August 2nd, there will be this downgrading of our debt. The reality is, they went on to say, S&P has gone on to say, if you don't get your debt problems in order, raising the debt ceiling will not be sufficient. All I can say is, Mr. President, you may be the first president in the United States history to spend our way into a situation where they downgrade our debt, and that is a tragic outcome for American taxpayers.
Well, Senator, with all due respect to you, and I do mean that respectfully, thank you for what you do for our country, but you, as the whole entire Congress, are all suffering from a massive credibility problem with the United States. The overwhelming majority of American people really disapprove of what all of you are doing. You didn't balance the budget during the Bush administration, and now one of the problems that happens is, sir, with respect, you go on TV and the first thing you do is it's fire bad, water good. We're trying to make a deal. They're the 100% bad guys. Do you take any responsibility for what your guys' role in this, getting up to almost an impossible thing, a default of the American economy?
Absolutely. I present charts showing the debt increase year after year, Republicans and Democrats, but no one can deny the fact that when it came to really spending our country in a very, very serious problem, where literally we've got rating agencies saying we're going to downgrade your debt, you have to look at the Obama presidency and reach the conclusion that this has been crisis built upon crisis with huge, enormous spending plans. And here he is at the 11th hour, 59 minutes and 59 seconds on the clock, and no plan. I mean, the plan he put out, which is his budget, and I know something about that. I'm a former governor of that balanced budgets that didn't borrow money to balance those budgets. I can tell you the lack of leadership is stunning. It
well,
is absolutely
I think a lot of us
stunning.
we're looking to you. We're looking to your fellow senators on the Republican side, on the Democratic side, to come together. I think Americans are ready for a deal. Thank you, Senator Mike Johanns, Republican from Nebraska. Thank you, sir. Let's go to Phil Flynn. Kind of took you a little bit, but talk about oil. I mean, you're up more than 1.5%.
I know. You know what, Cheryl, you look at these numbers this morning. Look at the CPI. Look at the lousy manufacturing number. Look at all the, the lousy consumer confidence. Normally that's bearish, right? Not after the Fed statement earlier in the week when you put QE3D back on the table. All of a sudden, bad numbers become bullish for oil. Why does that happen? Well, because now we have the perfect QE3D economic data. We have weak inflation, weak economic growth. That increases the odds of quantitative easing, and all of a sudden what makes a bearish number for oil all of a sudden bullish, and that market is going back up in a big way. Earlier in the day, of course, we also saw a big move up in silver. That's backed off a little bit. Move up in gold a little bit. They backed off a little bit. And if you look at the VIX index, that hit the highest level since June, they're backing off a little bit. Now, some of the reasons why we're backing off now is the market's getting prepared, of course, for those stress tests that are going to be coming out later today, and the market is going to be very focused on that. So they're backing off a little bit. But it's amazing how the perception has changed just after a few comments out of the Federal Reserve Chairman, and how we're going to have to interpret economic data different, especially when it comes to the price of oil.
Phil, stay there. Jim Frischling, he's bringing up those stress tests. That's one issue that we've got going on. And then also the back and forth for Bernanke we had this week. We've had a very volatile trading week.
I agree with Phil's comment about the Fed and the comments, and particularly the value that market participants are putting on those comments. We have an activist Fed, and you can't fight that. I will tell you the consumer sentiment number that just came out is indicative of an economy that's in a recession, even though I don't want to put too much emphasis on 1 month data. But the fact is you have two economies. You have what's going on Main Street with declining earnings, salaries, rising unemployment, a housing market that's so difficult. Yet you have a Fed that's basically saying, I will support this market.
It's true. And you know what?